Good morning to all of you. I am Dr. Neetu Gahlot. I am working as an assistant professor in St. Andrews Institute of Technology and Management, Gurgaon. I am from Applied Science Department and today I am taking my 29th lecture which is related to the spectroscopy and today we are taking the magnetic resonance imaging and this is our fourth unit. So let's start our topic. So today we are going to start a new topic that is MRI and MRI stands for the magnetic resonance imaging. I want to tell you that magnetic resonance imaging is the part of the spectroscopic techniques and now we are studying about the spectroscopic techniques and in this series we have uh, firstly we have introduced the spectroscopic, or we can say that these are the basics of the spectroscopy, and after that we have discussed about the ultraviolet spectroscopy, then IR spectroscopy, and then the NMR spectroscopy, and then we have discussed already the flame photometry also. And now this is the last topic, that is the magnetic resonance imaging. And this topic has the uh, the topic is very very important in the medical field. Okay, we all know about the MRI word. So that this is the magnetic resonance imaging. So here, uh, magnetic resonance imaging is a radiology technique. Okay, or the MRI in short, MRI, that is magnetic resonance imaging, is an imaging machine. Okay, imaging machine is MRI, and it uses the magnetism, radio waves, and a computer to produce images of a body structure. Okay, so this is the basic introduction of MRI, and uh, MRI is based on the principle of the nuclear magnetic resonance, and now we all know about the NMR spectroscopy and the principle of the NMR spectroscopy. Here in the one next point is that is the MRI was at first used to examine human being in 1997. So this is the MRI introduction, or we can say that MRI is an important technique for the diagnosis of soft tissues of human body. Okay, and the MRI is, as we know, that it is based on the principle of NMR spectroscopy. Okay, and MRI use the magnetism, radio waves, and a computer to produce the images of a structure body. So now MRI can be used to discriminate between the healthy and the diseased tissue. Okay, तो difference पता चलता है हमें between the healthy and the diseased tissue. So it makes use of the fact that proton presents in with the water, lipids, fats, etc. to come to resonance to a given frequency. Okay, in 1997, the first MRI exam was performed on a human being, and it took 5 hours to produce one image. Okay, so this is the basic introduction of the MRI. Now, here are the some factors contribute to MR imaging, or we can say that they are the factors on which MRI depends. So these are the quantum properties of nuclear spin. Okay, then the radio frequency excitation properties, or then tissue relaxation properties, then the magnetic field strength and the gradients, and timing of gradients, RF pulses, and signal detection. So these are the factors contribute to magnetic resonance imaging. Okay, so here the scientist who is known as the father of MRI, he is the name of his Raymond Vahan Damadin. Damadin. So he is the scientist who is called the father of MRI. So now the images of the various body parts can be easily generated because we know that the human body contains a 75% water, and uh, each water molecule has two hydrogen nuclei. So the distribution of water, fats, and the lipids, etc., is changed due to the various disease in the body. So that MRI can detect the body parts affected by the disease. So this is the MRI. Okay, and here the in the order to get an image in MRI, instead of applying a uniform field, a varying magnetic field is applied across the body part. So when if you know that the principle of NMR, तो क्या प्रिंसिपल था एनएमआर का? एनएमआर में क्या काम हो रहा था कि इन we know that like the electron, the nuclei can also spin. Okay, but when we applied a extra magnetic field, so that the if the magnetic field, extra magnetic field is not present, so that the spin are the normally spin, these are there are. But when we applied the extra magnetic field, so that nuclei can start a spin or the clockwise or the anti-clockwise also, so that there are the splitting here. And now same in the MRI case, we are also use the extra magnetic field to applying here, so that the protons in different region will come to resonance at different frequency, and the intensity of signal will be proportional to the number of protons at each magnetic field. Okay, so if the body part is rotated into the different orientation, another projection can be determined. ओके, तो सेम उसमें था हमारा एनएमआर में कि अब एक्स्ट्रा मैग्नेटिक फील्ड अप्लाई किया, तो अगर सपोज न्यूक्लियर ने स्पिन करना रोटेट करना शुरू किया, तो इफ द it spin in the field of the in the direction of the magnetic field, so it means there is the lower energies here. And if it oppose the spin in the oppose of the magnetic field, so that means there are the higher energies required. So that same is here, that the protons in the different region will come to resonance at a different frequency, and the intensity of signal will be proportional to the number of protons at each magnetic field. So if the body part is rotated into the different orientation, another projection can be determined. So then the data is combined to get a three-dimensional image of the body part. So in a brief, image of the body part can be constructed by scanning a slice of particular body part, and then various slices can be combined by computer to get the final image. Okay, so here there are the now we are talking the some points about the component of the MRI, because it is the important we should know that the components of the MRI. So there are the three main components of MRI, and these are the firstly the is called the scanner, and second component is the computer, and third component is called the recording hardware. So these are the three main components: scanner, computer, and hardwaring. So these are the main component of the MRI. So here now, that what can be diagnosed by an MRI scan. So the first, there are the some points. So first point is most alignment of the brain, including tumors. First, then if the any injury by the sports, so that the sports injury can be also diagnosed, and the musculoskeletal problem is also diagnosed, by the MRI, and the most spinal conditions or injuries, so they can diagnose by the MRI. And the other vascular abnormalities and the female pelvic problems, the prostate problem, and there are some gastrointestinal tract conditions, then the certain ear, nose, and throat. You know that the ENT, the ear, nose, and throat conditions, and the soft tissues and bone pathology. So these can be diagnosed by the MRI scanning. So now come to the next, that is the who can't have an MRI scan, who cannot have an MRI scan, किसका नहीं कर सकते हैं. So these are there are the some points also. First is the a cardiac pacemaker. Second is the certain clips in your head from brain operation. Okay, and then the cochlear implant, then a metallic foreign body in our eyes, and the head surgery in the last 8 weeks. And if the pregnancy is here there, so that cannot have the MRI scan. So these are the points. Now come to the principle of MRI. The principle of the MRI, and as we know that it is based on the principle of the NMR spectroscopy. So the NMR spectroscopy, we know that there are the we applying the extra magnetic field in the NMR spectroscopy, so that the nucleus can spin, or that there are the shielding or the not the shielding is also takes place, so that here the same principle is work is in MRI. So MRI make use a magnetic property of the certain atomic nuclei. Okay, so hydrogen nucleus, that is a single proton present in water molecules and therefore in all body tissues. So the hydrogen nuclei partially align by a strong magnetic field in the scanner, and the scanner is the first component of the MRI. So the nuclei can be rotated using radio waves, and they subsequently oscillate in the magnetic field while returning to equilibrium. Then simultaneously they emit a radio signals, and this is detected using antennas. These are coils, and very detailed image can be made of soft tissues. So by this process we can diagnose, or we can collect the information of the disease, and then that can be better treatment of the disease. So now there are some applications of the MRI. It is a very important part of the MRI, so that we want to discuss on each topic. That first is MRI needs a very small time and can be used for observing the functions of myocardium and various heart disease. Okay, and then second is it can identify the reason of excessive fat deposition in various organs and in blood vessels. Clear? Then the sodium, that is the atomic mass 23, that sorry, atomic number 23, sodium. So sodium 23, here the MRI can be used for the analysis of blood, and the fluorine can be used for the determination of concentration of fluorine in various body parts. Then the studies of cardiac anatomy and the functions. Then next point is the breast cancer screening for women who face a high risk of breast cancer. So these can be diagnosed with the help of MRI scanning or MRI imaging. So the applications of the MRI are the very, very important. Here, one question is coming to my mind that the what happen if you get a MRI with the metal in your body. क्योंकि हमें पता है कि जब कभी MRI कराने जाते हैं तो सबसे पहले डॉक्टर्स जो है वो जो भी अपने मेटल आपके पास है उसको वो बाहर निकलवा देते हैं, है ना। और हमें उन्हें इन्फॉर्म करना पड़ता है कि भाई कहीं पहले कोई एक्सीडेंटल केस नहीं है, कि भाई रॉड नहीं पड़ी है, कोई प्लेट्स नहीं है बॉडी के अंदर, कोई भी मेटेलिक पार्ट बॉडी के अंदर नहीं है। सो क्या होता है इससे कि व्हाट हैपन इफ यू गेट एन एमआरआई विद मेटल इन आवर बॉडी। सो हियर answer is that the metal that is well secured to the bone, such as hip and knee joint replacement, will not be affected by an MRI. The metal won't heat up or move in response to a machine. But if the metal is near an organ, such as the prostate, distortion could be a problem. Okay, so that um, we don't have the metal when we when the MRI takes place. So now then come to the advantage of the MRI. Here the advantage of MRI, the first is the no ionizing radiation, then the variable thickness in any plane, and the better contrast resolution. Okay, so these are the advantage. And now the disadvantage of MRI, because the advantage are here, so that the disadvantage is also here. So that disadvantage of MRI is, firstly, it is the very, very expensive. And the second point, it is dangerous for patient with metallic device placed within the body, as we discussed above. Then the difficult to be performed on claustrophobic patient, and then the movement during scanning may causes blurry image. Okay, so these are the disadvantages. And one more, that is the RF transmitters can causes serve burn if mishandled. Okay, RF means these are the what is RF? RF factor, that is the refractive frequency. Okay, now here, so these are the advantage and the disadvantage. And I repeat again, the disadvantage, these are the very expensive, dangerous for the patient with metallic device placed within the body, and the difficult to be performed on the claustrophobic patient. Then the movement during the scanning may cause blurry image. And here is the radio frequency transmitters can cause sunburn if mishandled. So RF is the radio frequency. Okay, so that now here are the some questions, very easy, or the easy question, that what is which is better than the CT scan and MRI scan. हम लोग बार बार दोनों वर्ड सुनते हैं, CT scan और the MRI scan. So which is better in the CT scan or the MRI scan? CT scan used X-rays, while the MRI scan use strong magnets and the radio waves. This is the main difference between the CT scan and the MRI scan. Here the CT scan use the X-rays and MRI scan use the strong magnets and the radio waves. A CT scan is generally good for large area, while the MRIs can produce a better overall images of the tissue under examination. कहीं छोटे से पार्ट का भी अगर हमें कोई कुछ डायग्नोस कुछ पता करना है तो वी use the MRI. So both have risk but are relatively safe procedure. Okay, and here the MRI is used industrially mainly for the routine analysis of the chemicals also. So the nuclear magnetic resonance technique is also used for example to measure the ratio between water and the fat in food and monitoring the flow of corrosive fluids in pipes or to study the molecular structure that such as the catalyst. Okay, so these are the non-medical use also of the MRI. And now uh, next question is that do MRI have the side effect? क्या उसका कोई side effect हो सकते हैं? So here that an MRI scan is a painless radiology technique that has the advantage of avoiding X-ray radiation exposure. Okay, there are no known side effects of an MRI scan. So similarly, the patient with artificial heart valves, metallic ear implants, bullet fragments, and chemotherapy or insulin pumps should not have MRI scanning. Okay, and I repeat again, do the MRI have the side effect? So firstly, the patient with the artificial heart valves, metallic ear implants, bullet fragments, and chemotherapy or insulin pumps, they should not have MRI scanning. Okay. Otherwise, MRI scan is a painless radiology technique that has the advantage of avoiding X-ray diffraction exposure. There are no known side effect of an MRI. So this is the MRI or so if we want to the introduction of MRI in the one line, so that we can say that MRI is an important technique for the diagnosis of the soft tissues of human body based on the principle of NMR. So now I complete my lecture, which is related to the magnetic resonance spectroscopy, and that is the last topic of the spectroscopy techniques. And now uh, if you have query or if you want to something uh, known to something, then you can contact with me. And now prepare, there is a one important question, that is the applications of MRI. And this question is was in the uh, last semester question paper. ये देन तो लास्ट सेमेस्टर के क्वेश्चन पेपर में हमारा एमआरआई से रिलेटेड ये क्वेश्चन था, दैट इज द राइट द एप्लीकेशंस ऑफ एमआरआई. सो देयर आर द 6 to 7 points you have to prepare for the application of MRI, and the other points which are related to the MRI as we discussed here. So you have to prepare and prepare your all the topics related to the examination, and if any query can contact with me. Thank you.